doing lesson 5.1, starting into unit 5, and we're going to be dealing with all this stuff about triangles. So welcome to the triangle unit. So the first thing we're going to look at is some triangle angle theorems. So basically dealing with the triangles and some of their angles, we're going to look at some different theorems. So let's jump into that. So the first thing we're going to look at are the key points. So the first thing we're going to look at is the sum of the interior angles of a triangle add up to 180. So if I take all the angles of a triangle, no matter what triangle it is, if I add up all three of those angles, they're going to add up to 180. And that's known as the triangle angle sum theorem. Again, if I add up all the angles of a triangle, they're going to add up to 180 degrees. The next thing we're going to look at is if two sides of a triangle are congruent, meaning if I have two sides on the triangle that are congruent to each other, equal, then the angle opposite of those sides are congruent to each other. So to give you an idea of what this looks like, meaning if I have, it's called an isosceles triangle. If I have a triangle and both of those sides are congruent to each other, I have two sides equal, the sides opposite of those are going to be congruent to each other. So that means, I'm going to use a different color, that this angle opposite of that, this angle, and this angle opposite of that right there are going to be equal to each other. So if this is angle A and if this is angle B, A is going to be equal to B. So the base angles, those bottom two angles, are going to be equal to each other, okay? So we're going to take these and we're going to apply them to some examples and see how it works. So let's go to example number 1. Okay, so on example number 1, it wants me to find the measure of angle T. So right now I do not know this, but I know the other two angles of this triangle. So I just learned the triangle angle sum theorem tells me if I add up all angles of a triangle, they're going to add up to 180 degrees. So what this means is angle A plus angle M plus angle T is going to equal 180 degrees. So this angle plus this angle plus this angle is going to add up to 180 degrees. So now I just have to plug in and solve for my missing angle. So A is 27, M is 82, add T to that is going to equal 180. So 87 or 27 plus 82 is actually going to end at 109. So 27 plus 82 is 109, plus T is going to be 180, and then I'm just going to subtract 109 on both sides. Okay, 109 on both sides. So T is going to be equal to 180 minus 109 is going to end up giving me 71 degrees. So angle T is going to end up being 71 degrees because 71 plus 109 is going to give you 180. So again, all the angles of a triangle add up to 180 degrees. Looking at example number 2. Okay, so looking at example number 2, it wants me to find the value of x. So before you even start looking at plugging stuff in and figuring out the problem, the first thing you need to do is think of the concept. We just now learned that all three angles of a triangle are going to add up to 180 degrees. So right now, looking here, before I even solve for x, I know if I take this angle, if I take this angle, if I take this angle, those are the three angles of my triangle, they are going to add up to 180 degrees. That is my concept. So now I'm going to take all three of those angles, set them equal to 180, and solve. So my first angle is x, plus my second angle is 2x, plus my third angle is 3x, and I know all three angles are going to add up to 180 degrees. So x plus 2x plus 3x gives me a total of 6 x's, and then all I'm going to do is divide by 6 on both sides. So x is going to be equal to 30, because 180 or 18 divided by 6 is 3, bring the 0 down, so it'd be 30. So right now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm basing this off of all three angles of a triangle add up to 180, plug all that in, that should end up giving you 30, okay? Let's look at example number 3. All right, guys, so looking at example number 3. So right now it says we need to find the measure of angle G. So right now, before I even start plugging in numbers or anything, right now I just now learned that all three angles of a triangle are going to add up to 180 degrees, correct? But also at the top of my paper, I know that if two sides of a triangle are congruent to each other, that makes it an isosceles triangle. That tells me the two opposite angles to those sides are going to be congruent to each other. So right now, look, J to H and G to H are congruent to each other. So that makes this a isosceles triangle. So the angles opposite of those sides, this angle and this angle, are going to be equal to each other. So what that tells me, since we have an isosceles triangle, that tells me in this instance, angle G is going to be equal to angle J. because they are the base angles, the opposite angles of those sides. So right now that tells me G is going to be x plus 44 and J is going to be 3x. So now literally all I have to do is solve. So I'm going to subtract x on both sides, so minus x minus x. So that's going to give a 44 is equal to 2x. And then I'm going to divide by 2 on both sides. So x is going to equal 22. Now we need to make sure it is asking me what angle G is. So 22 is not the measure of G because G is going to be x plus 44. So that means I need to take x, which is 22, and I need to add that to 44, which is going to end up giving me 66 degrees. So I found the value of x by using the isosceles triangle theorem, and then I ended up plugging it back in to give me my missing angle of G. Okay? All right. Looking at our challenge question here. Okay, so remember this challenge question right here is something that you can use to give you a gauge if you're ready to move on. If you can look at this and you can use the two theorems that we just learned to try and solve for this, you then can go ahead and move on to your skill check. If you're needing a little help to understand it, all you gotta do is ask me to come over, I can help you. If other than that, good luck on your skill check. Let me know if you need any help.